This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Hello, Place to Be Nation universe. Welcome back to our monthly WWE reaction shows, and it's a big one tonight, or this afternoon, or today, whenever you're listening, as we're discussing Summerslam. I'm your host, Kris Zellner, joined as always by my co-host, the Oracle of the WWE, Devon Hales. And Devon, we've had some interesting pay-per-views lately, but I think that we can say this one was the most interesting of all in a good way.
Yes, I think the outcome it definitely was interesting. I think going in it was probably pretty interesting, but in the aftermath, I'm definitely more intrigued and into the product a little bit more. I think it's actually been a pretty stale summer for the WWE in terms of booking and in terms of interest. And that actually hurt the build for SummerSlam because I don't think that there was a ton of interest in some of the matchups and angles, and some things were tiresome, and some stuff felt like a rehash of Extreme Rules or revamping of Extreme Rules maybe. But I think the booking was fairly successful and quite successful in a lot of ways. And I think that it's going to make for an interesting fall, I think, or at least hopeful for an interesting fall after tonight.
Yeah, and we'll talk about after we talk about the show, how different the fallout is, considering now that Hell in a Cell has moved up a month to September now instead of October. So we'll talk about how that may affect some of the booking on this show as we go. But a lot of matches on this show tonight. Of course, 2-hour pre-show. So you get 3 matches there and 10 matches on the main show. And still, there was talent that could have been on this show that wasn't. WWE has a loaded roster right now, even though they may not be using them the right way, but they got a lot of talent. And, we'll see how this went here as we begin with the pre-show. And their first match of the show was Andrade Cien Almas and Zelina Vega versus Rusev and Lana. Of course, this has been built up on SmackDown in recent weeks. Aiden English has been involved in the finishes and angles. Not involved here at all, which was interesting in a way. Match was okay. It was fine. If it was in front of, say, maybe a couple of thousand fans at 5:30 in the afternoon. But the right team won, I think, and Almas and Vega. But they may have been, you watch SmackDown every week. Do you think that they were winning a little too much going into this? And maybe Rusev and Lana should have got the win here? Or do you think this was the right finish?
To answer that first, I think they probably should have had one win with the help of Aiden after he had initially cost them. I think it would have added to the layer of him not being out there. Because he sent the tweet. He said, I was told I did what I was asked to do. There was a sarcastic undertone to the tweet, obviously, after the match. I think it would have been, came off better that, for the obvious story they're telling there, if, the first time Aiden costs them, Lana or Rusev or, whoever, second time he helps them. Or, and then, third time, maybe, I think they did 3 matches. First time cost him, second time he does help him, third time, and maybe it's a little bit more ambiguous, and then, they do the deal here. Because I do think it was a little bit one-sided in terms of the storytelling goes for that. I didn't think this match would be great, but I also didn't think it would be the worst match of the entire show, and it was. It wasn't even a bad match, but I think it was the worst match of the show. Now, there's another match that I didn't think was good either, but it had more memorable spots and stuff in it, and we'll get to that. So I think that match gets the edge. This was the worst match of the card out of everything, in my opinion. And it didn't. It was fairly forgettable. But I will say I do like that they've kind of given the slow rise to Andrade, having him win the Sin Cara feud, and then moving up the ladder, and he's looks like he's probably won the Rusev feud, and then moving him up the ladder. So I do like that booking a lot. A lot of people get all worked up into the idea that every NXT person who moves up should immediately be in upper mid card or main event. And that's just ridiculous thinking. And he's been booked, very well. Not tremendously or anything it hasn't been amazing, but it's solid, strong booking, and they're moving him up the card. Andrade is a great wrestler, but he's not somebody who's going to translate that well to the main roster audience in the crowds or on TV that quickly. So they need to be able to build him up consistently, and he's someone who's going to take a little bit more time to get over. So I think they're taking the right path with him. But yeah, I coming in, I didn't think this would be the worst match on the card, and it was. But I think it served its purpose ultimately, and I'm interested to see where Andrade goes now.
Well, yeah, I mean, and to be fair, the best match on the show shouldn't be a kickoff match.
Right.
So if the first kickoff match is the worst match on the show, that's probably a good thing.
That is a good sign. That is.
Yeah. Where they go from here? This is the issue with SmackDown. You got Styles, but he's locked in with Samoa Joe. We'll talk more about that. We just saw Jeff Hardy and Nakamura, but Jeff Hardy's pretty much locked in with Orton, and Nakamura probably still involved as well. Bryan and Miz are definitely still married together. Who are your other baby faces?
Well, I think if you do Ty Dillinger, that wouldn't work. Oh no, I'm saying he wouldn't work because that's going down. So
yeah,
I'm going to stick to the fantasy booking / rumors and think that I still think Ray is going to eventually come over after All In, and they're going to do Andrade Ray feud.
Well, that would be perfect if that happens.
I don't think that I'm not 100%. Otherwise, I really have no clue what they're doing with him because I can't think of any. It's really hard to think of any compelling baby faces, singles baby face. I can't think of them.
Well, here they could do something. Well, it just wouldn't work though. But I mean, if they would think about splitting one of the guys from New Day off into their own little
deal. That literally went through my head about 10 seconds ago, but I just don't know if they're. I don't know if they're just.
They're never going to do that. The way it looks.
They're not going to do that.
I mean, the New Day could have multiple feuds at one time.
Right.
I mean, it makes sense to do that. In fact, three guy factions have done that before. I mean, there's no problem in doing that.
Freebirds did that all the time. Did they not? I mean.
Oh yeah, but shit, yeah. I mean, the Freebirds. I mean, they feuded with the Von Erichs. They feuded with Devastation Incorporated at the same time. They had. It happened. But that's why I'm worried when Almas is like, who is next? I mean, Raw is so loaded with baby faces that he could have a great time there. This is why they kind of need to do a shake-up at the SummerSlam too. They need to do a shake-up at the Mania and a shake-up at the SummerSlam. I think that would be best for the company if they would do something like that, because imagine Almas on Raw when you got Balor and Rollins and whoever else over there. Ambrose is on there. I mean, you got all these baby faces that he could work against. I don't know. We'll see. But Rusev's another guy I guess he's pretty much in his spot, and that's where it's going to be. Sad for him. So at least he was on the show though. Sheamus and Cesaro and the news, so can't say that.
He was happy to be on there. He was really happy to be on there with the cruiserweights.
Yeah. Speaking of, next match, Cedric Alexander vs. Drew Gulak for the cruiserweight title, and this is the first cruiserweight title match since Mania on pay-per-view. Am I correct?
Yes, that is correct. Yep.
Yes. I like this match. I thought it was a solid match. Problem is, 205 Live television has been so great this year that this wouldn't even crack the top 10 probably of the 205 Live TV
No.
matches, which goes to show you how great 205 Live's been. But it's still a solid match. I was kind of surprised that Cedric retained the title. I thought Gulak winning the title would have added a little, freshness to the brand, because they do need some freshness right now. They need some new names. They need to, mix it up a little bit. And Gulak as a heel champion would have been interesting, because the best guy on the show is Mustafa Ali, and he's already had his feud with Cedric Alexander. They're not going to do that again. So it's kind of like we're still running in place here, unless they're saving Cedric's loss for Leo Rush, which could be a thing. I don't know. But Gulak looked great here with his American flag ties. By the way, I'm joked with Bix as we were recording Between the Sheets during that match that he stole Virgil's gimmick in Memphis as Soul Train Jones, who was like doing the Apollo Creed gimmick, but with wrestling tights instead of Ossentron's. And I thought that looked great. But yeah, Cedric retains. So your thoughts on the match and the future of 205 Live?
I thought this was a very good match. In fact, what I really appreciated about it was that they worked a 205 Live style match. Because Cedric Ali was not a 205 Live style match. It was a WWE mega drama bullshit match. The
last one we had on pay-per-view, yes,
that both guys, especially Cedric, did not execute well at all. And I was pleased to see them work the 205 Live style. And a lot of that has to do with Gulak, and Gulak is a guy who's going to work his style, which is kind of the Regal Finley, and those guys when they were wrestling every week were, stood out and wrestled their own deal when they were on TV. So he's from that kind of kin of wrestling style, and that was a part of it. But I appreciated that they wrestled a match that you would see on 205 Live every week. It wasn't a great match. Like you said, it was not, something that would be, like one of the better matches of 205 Live at all this year. But it was a pleasing match to see that they allowed them to work the match that you might have seen on 205 Live. The finish I actually thought was kind of neat. There were some cool little neat reversals there in the final seconds, and it was an interesting little bit there when they did all that stuff. I thought that was clever and neat. Cedric, I don't think is as over with the fans as they think he is. They don't hate him. He got some decent reactions during some big spots tonight. But I really think Ali
he's colorless.
Think Ali's the better option as the champion.
Cedric's kind of colorless right now.
Yeah.
Do you see that? Yeah.
He is, and I think Ali, he's so good in the ring, and he's so good working underneath, taking a beating, big bumps, and coming back with crazy spots and stuff. He'd get, I don't know if people would go absolutely nuts for him or anything, but he could get people, from a main roster audience, really into his matches, and he's the one who usually gets the fans going. And the main event of 205 Live when the crowd's been there for 3.5, 4 hours, by the way.
Exactly.
He's the guy who's able to achieve that on the most consistent basis. He's the one who should have won at Mania. And to be fair, I like Cedric. I think he's a very good wrestler.
Absolutely.
But I just don't think he's necessarily the right choice. But like I said, it was a very good match, and I was pleased to see that they worked the kind of style of match you would see on the weekly show.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ali, Buddy Murphy, guys like that who have just been busting ass. They need to be in the mix too. And
yes,
it's just Cedric's held the title since Mania, and I know that's not really very long in a way. It's not even 5 months, but it feels long.
Yes.
it feels long. So, we'll see where they go from here. All right. Next match, Raw Tag Titles. The B Team versus the Revival. And this was an interesting match. I was kind of unsure where they would go, but I kind of had a feeling B Team was going to retain. And they did. And, nothing wrong with it. It was fine for what it was. Finish was interesting as they tried to, I guess, was trying to make it seem like the B Team fluked their way into a win. But, I don't know. And they retained their titles. So, Revival got on a pay-per-view, so good for them. B Team, of course, got to do the little thing with Miz later. So that was a good blow-off, I guess, for that story. But do you think that the B Team as champions, is a good thing right now that they're keeping the title, or do you think they should have done a deal where they took the titles off of them and went somewhere else? Or where do you stand on the whole B Team situation?
I mean, it's very similar to the Heath Slater Rhino tag team that they did a couple of years ago on SmackDown. God, I can't believe it's 2 years already. Jesus.
God Almighty, I know, right? Well, it's like that. They're talking about Roman and Brock at San Francisco
That's
Mania.
3.5 years ago.
Good Lord. Insane.
Yeah, I mean, it's similar. I think it's a little bit different. I think I'm fine with the B Team keeping it because the way that they're winning, the way that Slater and Rhino won their matches was it really fluke. It was more like overcoming the fact that you're a jobber and and winning because you're proving that you're, you know what I mean? It was a different kind of story. It still had the comedic value to it, but it was a different story. You felt like Slater and Rhino were like legitimately winning, and the booking of these B Team matches is clever. I mean, when they win with their luck, it seems like they're winning legitimately too, but it's just I think Slater Rhino actually held the belts too long. I think it would have worked better if they had won the belts and kept it for a month and then dropped them, but they ended up having them for like 3 or 4 months. B Team, I think, can sustain this. I think this has a little bit longer of a ceiling in terms of, or I guess higher of a ceiling in terms of like how long they can keep the belts. But it's also got a ceiling too. Like eventually, by the time, I don't know, we get to Super Showdown or something, they probably don't need to have the belts anymore. You can only do this stuff so much with a comedic tag team champion. But they're very over with the crowd. They got the song that everybody sings along to now, and they're fun characters. They had the fun backstage bit with Miz that I'm sure we'll mention here in a little bit. I mean, they're a fun team. And in fact, I'm actually really looking forward to their interaction with Roman tomorrow night on Raw because they'll do something with that.
They have to. I think they have no choice.
Yes, because that's been a running gag the last month, which has been pretty entertaining. And I actually think they've had some good matches. The 3-way on Raw was very good. Tonight's match was a good little match. I thought it was funny that they did they pulled the Giant Baba Rusher Kimura versus that's whenever they attack like the babyface's partner right over.
The
Yes,
Hansen Tenru
yes,
match?
that's always the match that I think of when they've been
1989, Real World Tag League.
Yeah,
yes.
that's always the match that I think of. What
a match!
Yes, great match. But then again, like that's a weird match to do that in. I understand why they did that because, it's the idea that V Team's still the underdog and they end up winning barely basically by fluke again, and the idea was that they're going to get it this time with Axel getting taken out early, but I especially in tag matches, I really miss having a face shine in every tag match, and that's not as common anymore, oddly. The face shine just doesn't happen as much in tag matches. And that happened as well in the Bludgeon Brothers versus the New Day, which we'll get to later. But I was kind of, I always like to see a face shine, and I think it would have worked here with the B team, but because the Revival are great stooges, and they could have done some fluky spots for the B team getting offense or whatever. But it was a good little match, and part of that is probably they were strapped for time a little bit maybe, but yeah, it was a good little match, and the B team are fun, and I just think that they can probably do this a few more times, and then I think it's probably time to drop the belts by the Australia show, I would say.
The Raw tag scene is kind of like the SmackDown, babyface roster in a way, because it's really, I mean, you got Wyatt and Hardy, which you've already done that. You got these two teams. Ascension, no. Fashion Police, Fandango's hurt.
Slater Rhino,
You got Slater Rhino, which aren't doing much of anything. Titus Worldwide and the Altars of Pain are having their feud. It's the Altars of Pain. If they wanted to do something, that would be a team that they would, do that with. But I don't know. They kind of lost their way some, and they got to get built back up. But and then you look at the way SmackDown is. You get the Usos and the Bar just hanging out, doing nothing, and it's just like, again, somebody needs to be on another show.
Yeah,
Usos need to be on
weird.
Raw.
I don't get it.
It is. It's very, very, very weird. All right, we spent enough time on that. Let's go to the main show. Intercontinental title match, which made sense as the opener. Dolph Ziggler defending against Seth Rollins. Dean Ambrose returned on Raw Monday night, and he's back with his short haircut and his new muscles. And he's at ringside against Drew McIntyre, countering him. And this match was interesting in the way it was laid out. I thought it was a little slow to start off with, but it really picked up at the end of the match, which saved the match. This was a polarizing match. A lot of people really loved this match. ESPN actually rated the match of the night of the show. And this was a theme on a lot of the matches on this show. I saw a lot of polarizing thoughts. But I mean, this was a good opener, no doubt. Like I said, it really picked up at the end. The right guy won. We even got some hardway juice. So yeah, well, I guess maybe the Seth and Dolph thing as a title feud could be over, but I think we may be just beginning with the tag part of the feud. So I believe we'll see some Seth and Dean versus Dolph and Drew matches coming up, which is a good thing because I think they'll have some really, really strong matches. So it's good to see Seth with the title again. What was your thoughts on the match and the future with these guys?
The match was very good. It was probably 5 or 6 minutes too long. A lot of Rollins have been like that this year. Rollins matches. It was slow and kind of boringish at first. I mean, it wasn't bad, but it was just kind of there. But I thought they did a good job at the end, tying up all the past matches with some callbacks to the previous finishes, which made for some nice near falls. Rollins doing the inverted suplex DDT spot.
Oh, the Guerrero special. Yes. That should have been the finish.
That was completely nuts. I'm not really a huge fan of those spots, but they always pop me because they're so impressive physically. And it was a cool that he did that and changed it up on a bigger show, because usually he does the superplex into the Falcon Arrow, but he changed it up this time. But yeah, and I thought they did a decent job of teasing, and building up the Ambrose McIntyre confrontations on the floor, especially early. I think they kind of left that dormant for a little while, but I get why, because there's a match going on in the ring, and you don't want to focus too much on what's going on the outside. But I think they probably could have done a little bit more with that. But yeah, it was a very well executed finish, and I think, like you said, the right guy won, and there was like a split second where you thought Ambrose might do something to Rollins or something, but I think that's coming, but that's not coming for a few months. Ambrose and Rollins are going to do the tag team deal for a little bit, and then I think we might get a turn maybe in the next couple of months, but not now. But yeah, I thought it was a very strong opener.
I kind of don't want to see a turn. I mean, I still think there's stuff to do shield wise
Sure.
down the line. So I kind of don't want to see the turn, but it
That's a heel look.
and
That's a
Rollins
heel
and
look, man.
it's a heel look, yeah, and it yeah, you're right. I mean, it could be where we're going. But
They'll do the tag match at Hell in a Cell before anything like it's at least at least a month.
oh yeah. They're gonna have they're gonna have a tag deal for sure, definitely.
Um,
But I just don't know. I mean, Ambrose is pretty popular,
right.
so it can be kind of tough.
Oh,
But
I
Rollins is
know of
popular
someone who's really
too.
popular and it'd be tough to turn him heel. Oh, we'll get to that later.
Well, that actually may. Well, that's what. Well, we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But yeah, I mean, that's probably where they're gonna end up going. So we'll see what happens. But I'm ready for Drew to break away and do his own
Me
thing.
too.
Because he needs to be in that scene. He definitely needs to be in the scene. We get the Bellas backstage talking about they're going to be watching Rousey and Alexa at ringside. Now, it had been reported yesterday. Dave Meltzer was one of the ones who reported it that the main event for Evolution was going to be Rousey versus Nikki. And well, we'll talk about that later on, as there was a little interaction later on in the show. Bludgeon Brothers defending the SmackDown Tag Titles against Big E and Xavier Woods of New Day. Kofi Kingston on the floor for the match. So we get the best workers of the bunch here. Short match, but hey, they worked at a fast pace. They had a lot of good spots in here. I dug where they were going with this. It looked like it was building up to something. And then we got the finish. Rowan using the mallet on he used the mallet to get the DQ. Yeah, used the mallet to get the DQ, and then they used the mallet on the guys after the match. But man, these guys were just going out. Big E's bellies on the floor looked brutal on both these guys. I mean, lots of hard shots, great bumps. Woods doing the elbow off the top rope was stellar. This is one of the things where I really was enjoying it, and then they fucked it up. And then considering another finish coming on later in the show, it made this one look even more stupid. Because if you're going to do a DQ finish in one of your main single title matches on the show, you damn sure don't need to do it here. There should have been another way to do this type of finish. Because this one, it looked bad at the time, and then looked even worse an hour or so later. But this feud's going to continue, and I have no problem with that because I think these teams have something they could do. I mean, they have some more matches up their sleeve, so good stuff. All right, your thoughts on the shitty finish and New Day and Bludgeon Brothers going to have another one.
The match was really good. I mentioned it before in the Raw Tag Title match. I want to see some face shine, especially in this match. The other match, I think there's a good argument for it, but this one, I think it could have done some face shine, and they just went straight to the Harper, kicking Xavier's head off, which was a nasty spot. But it would have been nice to get a little bit of that the face shine going. But once things got going, this got real good. I mean, they took about 12 bumps on the floor. That's not a joke.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Dylan's made the argument before. My brother Dylan's made the argument before that they clearly have gotten great padding on those floors because these people are taking bumps all over the place on that floor. Because 10, 15, 20 years ago, no way people were taking bumps. I mean, the only guy who was taking bumps on the floor consistently was Foley, and he's a friggin' maniac. Like, no,
we saw that turned out.
Yeah, I mean, people weren't taking bumps on the floor like this at the rate that they. I mean, they've clearly padded those floors, and they're probably much safer to bump on now. They have to be,
which is good.
Yes, it is good, because it allows for, it allows for the illusions of, oh my God, that's an insane spot, and adds a little bit more of a dynamic, deal to matches and whatnot. But yeah, the finish, there's some people who made some decent arguments that, Well, the Bludgeon Bros realized that the New Day could actually beat him. They're the first team that could actually beat him, and they had to find a way out. Well, here's the thing. I'm never a fan of having two, multiple matches on a huge, huge show, mind you, multiple title matches as well, from the same brand as well.
True. Yeah.
and
Brian
and and in
James.
and in yes, and in DQs, like, I mean, people, like, they could have done the same story with, yeah, I mean, it might have been a fuck finish, but they could have done it where Rowan hit Xavier behind their back with the mallet. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If they could have, that's
Exactly.
probably what they should have done. Because originally I said, well, they could have beat him clean, then attacked him afterwards. You know what? No, they could have done the mallet shot. Yeah, it would have been a screw, but it wouldn't have been a DQ. It would have been a screw finish, but it wouldn't have been a DQ, and you could have told the same story. Like,
Exactly.
the fans probably still would have booed, but it wouldn't have been as much of a. There wouldn't have been as much animosity from them if it had been a 1-2-3 finish. Like, it would have gotten more of a. I mean, there would have been some like FU booking heat because that's how, a lot of crowds are these days. But not as much if there wasn't a DQ. But regardless, it was a great match, and I'm excited for this feud to continue, and I think they'll probably have a big time match set up for Hell in a Cell, and I mean, they'll throw anybody in the cell nowadays, and I'd love to see New Day in another cell match. So I'd be pumped for a New Day Bludgeon Bros cell match. Although I'm not
Ooh,
sure that.
I don't think that's going to happen. I really don't. I think, how many cell matches do you think we get?
We got 2 or 3 last year, but the thing is AJ Joe, and we'll get to that, is going to be in the cell for sure.
Absolutely.
And the thing against it, Chris, is I think you're right. I don't think they're going to have 2 cell matches from brands. They'll have 1 cell match from SmackDown, 1 cell match from Raw. And I think
Exactly.
AJ Joe is going to be the cell match for yeah.
I
SmackDown.
kind of think that the Raw one would be Dolph and Drew against Rollins and Ambrose.
Yeah, I
Because
think
I
you
don't
might
see
be right.
Roman in another cell match. He just did
No,
one.
no.
So, and that would be the one to do, obviously. But I just think it's gonna be the tag match. So we'll go there with that. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, this feud's definitely gonna continue, no doubt. So maybe they'll have a classic match with a clean finish coming up at another show. We'll find out. All right, now is when Raw decides that we're gonna take over the book of this show and show you what you're supposed to do. Braun Strowman versus Kevin Owens for the Money in the Bank briefcase. This didn't even go 2 minutes, and it shouldn't have went over. And Braun come out there, fans went apeshit for him. He beat the ever-loving shit out of Kevin Owens and just demolished him. Kevin Owens' legacy in his career is going to be the way he takes those bumps on the floor from the Braun Smash.
God.
Because he does it better than anybody does, folks. He's amazing at it. But, yeah, this feud's been something else. The whole feud, Braun's just kicked the shit out of Kevin Owens the entire feud. It's been great. So, they did this perfectly. I know that you've enjoyed parts of this as well. So, how did you feel about the way all this went down?
This was great booking. Absolutely excellent booking and a great squash. Crowd was hot. Owens bumping is absolutely insane. That's what he excels at. The choke slam on the floor spot was a fully level bump. That
Yes.
looked like a fully bump. He sold it well, but part of me thinks that wasn't all just selling. That looked like that looked like that hurt like hell.
I'm sure it didn't feel good.
He's an insane bumper, and that was a great way to set up the power slam at the end. Great squash, great booking, and a nice little teaser for what might happen later on.
Absolutely, yeah. When you get a match like this early in the show, and the Money in the Bank's involved, then the way the finish worked out, it's definitely set up for what could be later on, and it kind of was in a way. So Braun, Braun was one of the most over people in the show, no doubt, as we'll talk about when we get to the main event. So yes, this is the perfect way to end this whole feud. And Kevin Owens right now is in a situation where, what do you do with him? He's pretty much feud with all the baby faces on Raw. And it's funny because he's only been on Raw for a few months.
Yeah.
It's just a shakeup. It's like, what do you do now? I don't know. Weird. So we'll see. He's going to be in limbo, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so.
Now, to the other side of the booking spectrum, SmackDown Women's title, 3-way. Carmella defending against Charlotte and Becky. And this was something else. I'll say this. Everybody looked like they had some type of pink on, honoring Natalya here, which is what the word was. So that's great. Natalya will show up later on the show. Carmella was shaky here, but I thought that she looked better than she's looked a lot of the times. But it was time to take the belt off of her. We talked about this before on these shows when she's had title matches. She just doesn't need to be the champion, so they finally took the belt off. Now, Charlotte was injecting this match. It was supposed to be Carmella and Becky, and it was pretty much obvious that Charlotte had to win this match instead of what they were going to do. And she did. The fact is, she beat Becky to do it, which added an extra layer, because Becky had Carmella ready to go with the disarmer, and then Charlotte hit natural selection. It gets the 3 count. So you got that, and the fans did not like that at all. And this was a pro-Becky crowd. And we got the long sequence at the end where Becky and Charlotte hug each other, and everybody's like, okay, we're waiting. And then, boom, she just nailed him. And then she just kicked the crap out of her. And the crowd was just all over Becky. They loved it. But I've seen people on the opposite end of the spectrum on this one, which was, again, the theme for this show. Some people did not like this because they think that Becky should not be turning heel. And some people love this because they don't think it's really a heel turn. It's Becky. Just everybody knows that Charlotte is not a good friend. So Becky is getting the revenge on her, kind of like a Bayley Sasha type deal. And some people say, well, they didn't read the crowd, and then I say, well, they did read the crowd perfectly. So there's a lot of conflicts on this. But it is interesting that Charlotte was booed so much, and people have come to grips with the fact that they think that she's been pushed too hard. She's like kind of like the Roman Reigns of the female side of things. And as a babyface, it's definitely going to stick out. When she's supposed to be a heel, she does her best work as a heel. She is not a sympathetic babyface. Becky was. But now, but Becky is even probably more sympathetic now that she kicked Charlotte's ass. It's like, yes, finally, you did something. So, I don't know. It's going to be definitely interesting how they handle this on television. Where they go, if they decide to try to make Becky a true heel, or do they play the fact that Becky was just sick of Charlotte's shit. You know, that she's still Becky, but she's tired of Charlotte. So where do you think they're going to go? What would you do? And your thoughts on the whole match?
The match itself was bad in the first half. I thought it was bad.
Yes.
But it got pretty good. Everybody got the time to shine, and the crowd got into it. And there was some good drama and close calls at the end there. And look, Carmella was not terrible in the match. She wasn't good. I thought she kind of sucked at first. Charlotte was pretty bad in it, honestly.
Not a good night for Charlotte.
Not at all. Becky was good, but not great. I will say this about Carmella: she has a hell of a tope, and that's a good compliment.
She did hit a good one.
You know, I mean, she has a better tope than all the men, for example.
Most of them, yes.
Tozawa, Like, I mean, her tope isn't quite as impactful as Ember's because her body's smaller, but that was one hell of a tope. You know, I'll give her that. I mean, it seems like an underhanded compliment, but it really isn't. I mean, that was a great spot. She hit it. It was her big spot. I actually thought they did a pretty good job of, you know, I thought about it after the match and after the beatdown and stuff. You know, Charlotte was too focused. I mean, she ended up winning because at the end of the day, she stole the win from Becky and it played up the story and whatnot about inserting herself into the match and whatever. But I thought it did a good job of Charlotte was too focused on appeasing Becky and trying to be buddies with Becky in the match. And Becky just wanted.
She was patronizing
yes,
Becky.
She was patronizing Becky. Too worried about like being buddies with Becky and stuff, and like then she ends up attacking her at the end of the match after pinning her, and basically stealing the win from her. You know, Charlotte's over here, pretending that they're friends the whole match, then, basically steals the win from her. And I thought Becky did a good job character-wise of, I just want to win the title the entire match.
Yep.
And so I thought that was good storytelling of Charlotte, like, in those early exchanges, like, I didn't slap you in the. I mean, it was kind of bad acting, but like, it was well done in terms of consistent with character and the story and whatnot. And Charlotte as champion is annoying to me at this point. Babyface Charlotte
as a
champion
babyface, absolutely,
is even worse. God, it's bad. I hope it's just Becky. Becky's justified in her attack.
Absolutely.
From a kayfabe perspective, there's no question.
Charlotte's deal comes off as, I can't let you do this. I have to be the champion.
Yes.
There's no way I got to be the champion, not you. I don't care if you're my friend or not.
Yes, absolutely. Which is actually pretty strong storytelling.
Yeah.
The beatdown was great. The crowd was abusing. It was funny to see Charlotte cry and get yelled and get belittled. But as a babyface, that was just she's the most frustrating character in WWE to me. She actually is probably she's an extremely nice person outside of the ring by all accounts, but man, her character as a babyface stinks bad. I wish the absolute worst for the Charlotte Flair, the character.
Yeah, she's one of these that she doesn't need to be babyface. She doesn't need to be babyface. She needs just to be a heel.
Yes, absolutely. She's an excellent.
There's some people that don't need to be babyface.
Right. There are times where she annoyed me as a heel. I thought she tried too hard in her promo sometimes, but when she's on as a heel, she's excellent. As a babyface, she's so bad. Like she's not. She's the least sympathetic babyface, maybe on the entire roster. Like she's just not good at it at all. But I think they'll build to a big time title match with her and Becky at Evolution. I think they'll probably have a match. They might have a match at Hell in a Cell, and then I think they'll have maybe a blow off stipulation match at Evolution. I think that'll probably happen there. It wouldn't shock me if they had a second match at Super Showdown in Australia too, and give them a 3-match series. I know I'm.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing with this whole situation. I mean, they're obviously going to do some type of thing with the horsewomen versus horsewomen. That's going to happen. So, I mean, the fact you do this turn, I mean, we'll see. I mean, they did the Bailey Sasha thing where they brought them back together quickly.
Right.
So
I mean, it's possible.
it could always happen.
And I actually think it makes it more interesting if they do the horsewomen versus horsewomen with the women on the teams, or the people on the teams, not some people not getting along. I actually think it makes it a little bit more interesting of a dynamic. But,
it adds an extra layer, yeah.
But it's weird. I kind of went on, but at the end of the day, I think the match was fine. It was okay. It was bad at first. Got pretty decent at the end, and I'm torn on the Becky angle. I both loved and hated it. I would be really annoyed if she actually did turn heel and this was actually a heel turn. But I do think the matches and feud will be pretty good, even if it's a heel Becky versus face Charlotte. Because I think they have good chemistry in the ring, and I think they'd have good matches. I think it would be much better the other way. And like you said, we still don't know if it was a Becky heel turn. I kind of think it was, but I mean, we don't know yet. We'll
She kind of acted like it at the
yes,
end. As she was walking up the ramp, she
she
had this
did.
little swag
They'll
going.
they'll give her a promo, and we'll know in the promo on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely.
We'll know for
Absolutely.
sure. And I'm kind of inclined to agree with you. I think it probably was a full heel turn, which kind of is I think that's a very, very bad decision. But
Fans wanted it, though. I mean, they went nuts for that shit.
they
So,
wanted Charlotte to get beat up at least.
yeah.
I'll admit that. But yeah,
Well, no matter what, even if she's against Charlotte, she's going to get cheered.
yes,
If they put her against other baby faces, how is that going to go? But you look at the babyface women on SmackDown, it's Asuka and Naomi,
right,
who can't get on
right,
television right
right.
now. So it's kind of
Well,
like, okay,
they cheer Naomi over or no they cheer Becky over Naomi, at least on television, maybe not in house shows.
I would think so.
Oscar and Becky I think would get a mixed reaction, like dueling chants and
That would be an
stuff.
interesting deal, yeah.
But I think in pay-per-views and big shows with the smart crowds, Becky's always going to be cheered if it's a heel Becky versus face Charlotte. I
Oh,
think there might be
absolutely.
some TV
Absolutely.
crowds that'll be more partial to Charlotte and stuff, but and definitely some house show crowds too, maybe. But I think it's going to be an interesting situation to see how popular Becky is as a heel, if that sustains. I'll be interested to see.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing too, is I think that we probably won't be seeing the last Carmella either because she didn't lose the match.
That's true. Yep, that's very true.
So we could have another three-way match with those three.
Yep. Yep.
So that could be a way to do it too. But I think after Carmella's done, with this series, it's gonna be interesting to see where she goes for sure because I don't know. Don't know about her.
No, yeah,
Don't
I
know.
don't know either. I'm the one thing I'm pretty sure of. I mean, I'm not. I mean, we're not sure of anything. Anything can change in wrestling, and a lot of it's just fantasy
Oh,
booking and
absolutely.
whatever. But I'm pretty sure we're getting Charlotte versus Becky for the title at Evolution.
Evolution, yeah, definitely. That has to be a singles match. I think that's where you do these singles matches.
Right.
There. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. All right. As the SmackDown section continues here, AJ Styles versus Samoa Joe for the WWE Heavyweight title. And boy, this one had some stuff going on here. Joe integrating AJ's wife and daughter into the angle. And they were there prominently at ringside for this. I don't know. It's kind of tough seeing that because it just kind of like when you know that these two had this history. It kind of I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird situation, especially using AJ's kid in the angle. I don't know. That's kind of I'm not too hot on that one. The match was pretty good, pretty damn good. I'm not as high on as others were, but I thought it was a good match. It was one of the better AJ matches of recent memory, which is interesting to say because AJ's what he was, but he's not had the best 2018. That's
No.
for sure. And him and Joe should have solid matches together. God knows they've worked each other many times. So they had a solid match, and the finish made total sense. And it was a fuck finish, but it made total sense because Samoa Joe was talking about who's your daddy now. They said, "Daddy's coming home. I'll be your new daddy." And AJ just fucking snapped and beat the shit out of him with a chair and went through the barricade. And, I mean, that's what needed to happen here because AJ needed this edge. And, God, he's been needing something to spark him. And we got it. And these two are heading for something coming up. Gotta be Hell in the Cell, maybe, at the cell. So, yeah, at least this is something that feels like it's gonna be some type of program with heat. It's just I'm not the biggest fan of having AJ's daughter involved, so we'll see how that goes. But your thoughts on the match, the finish, and the whole angle?
Uh, I kind of enjoy these like, part of me hates them and but likes them like these weird like kind of uncomfortable angles. I think are good when they're done well, and I think Joe's promo and vicious character enough to where I've gotten into it. But it was a little. I mean, I think that was the point. It wasn't quite as disturbing, but it was akin to one of those. I
No,
mean, it wasn't quite as disturbing as say Mick Foley getting his head bashed in by a chair in front of his wife and kids. Like.
well, no, 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 no,
But
no, 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 no.
but it was it was a little uncomfortable. But I kind of I didn't think it was. To me, I didn't think it crossed any line or anything.
No, I'm not a big fan of using small
Sure,
children
sure, and I
in
fully understand
stories.
that, and it's not like I'm, you know what I mean. I'm not like
In that
totally
type of
sure,
way.
sure.
Now, the Miz, the way they've used his child, even though they really haven't, but the illusion of
Sure,
that is
right,
different.
right,
But this is just kind of, I mean, if you use the wife, okay,
right,
that's fine.
right, sure, sure.
But
I,
yeah,
I, I get that. Yeah, yeah. That's like it and it was. For me, it didn't personally cross a line or meet a line, but you know what I mean. I'm not an advocate for using kids or anything like that and stuff like that either, really. But I didn't think it was. It didn't touch my chords really. But as far as the match goes, I thought the first 5 minutes were actually awful because Joe cuts this vicious promo, and then they go
oh,
into
I
a
hate
collar and
this.
elbow tie up
Yes,
and headlocks. It
I
was
hate
awful.
that. But you know what though? You know what? I've been watching a shitload of '80s wrestling lately, as I've cataloged my DVDs that I
And
have,
they do that more
and
than you think.
that
Yeah,
happens a
yeah, it's annoying.
lot
Yeah,
back then. It happened. I mean, the Freebirds of Von Erich, one of your most vicious blood feuds ever, and a lot of their matches started out that same way.
right, right.
So
Um,
it's just they can't help. People can't help themselves.
but the
That's the way. That's the way you start most of your
right,
matches, and that's just it's a formula in
right.
wrestling in a lot of
But
ways. But you're right. You're
that
absolutely
wasn't
right.
the only reason I hated it. I thought the Samoa Joe, the slow-paced Samoa Joe, just sucks. I just think he's not.
Too
He
many.
stinks
Yeah,
at that. I get it. Like,
this was Kevin
yeah, it
Owens. It was Kevin
stinks.
Owens
It
headlocks.
stinks.
That's not Samoa
No, it
Joe.
sucked. And then when they finally got the crazy spots, like when they started doing all the big power slam and Joe doing the knee leg drop from the top rope, and then AJ killing Joe and the Styles Clash, like all that, like that was awesome. Then the match got awesome. Like it got really good.
Skeleton matches.
When they started doing all the big spots, I mean it was excellent. The sequence from the calf crusher into the coquina or into the clutch was awesome. Just like a tremendous spot. Um, the 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 finishing bit with Joe cutting a disgusting promo and then AJ beating the living hell out of him was awesome. Great, got a great reaction from the crowd. A really well done fuck finish that worked and made sense. Made AJ intriguing and more interesting. I think it helps Joe. I definitely think they're working the sell, and I think I actually think they'll close the show with that match at Hell in a Cell. I think it'll be AJ and Joe in
Could
the actual
yeah.
main event.
Yeah, that would
Um,
work on that show.
because
Yeah.
it's kind of in all honesty, it's the lame duck show this fall.
If you
So
if you're not doing Roman in the cell, then yes, you
yep,
need to close out with
yep,
this one.
yep,
I agree.
it's sort of the lame duck show because you got Super Showdown, you got Evolution, you got Survivor Series. Now TLC in December is another lame duck, but that's 3 months away. 4 months away.
Well, we already see what Super Showdown's
Oh
about.
sure.
I mean, that's Triple H
Oh
Undertaker.
yeah.
I mean, that's the
Oh
vanity show.
yes. Yeah. Yep. Um. But but that's I think that might be the main event of Hell in a Cell, like the show closer. So and if it isn't, that's fine. I think it'll be a great match, and it will be a featured match. I think they're definitely building to that. So I was satisfied with the match. I understand and sympathize with your deal with the kid, and that was, the one thing I did think was maybe a bit much. I will say is when they had the kid actually like vocalize something or whatever. Like, what was
Daddy, you're
yeah.
bleeding. Which it makes you, they don't do blade jobs anymore.
No.
But it kind of makes you wonder on that one.
Right. Right.
Because the way she said that,
Right. Right. Um,
makes you wonder on that.
right. But yeah, it was but yeah, I thought it was really well done. The first 5 minutes I thought stunk, but once the match got going, I thought it was excellent, and I loved the angle and stuff. So I'm all for this feud, and I think it'll be a fun build towards Hell in a Cell.
All right. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely this feud will continue. And like I said, AJ got his edge. So maybe that'll make him interesting again. All right. Elias was up next. Now, the Elias was supposed to perform at the Grandmaster Theater in New York, and the storyline was that WF made him cancel his gig so he could perform at SummerSlam. So he goes out there, he does his spiel, goes to play his guitar, and his guitar broke. Now, of course, this was planned. This is no bullshit, but it kind of was interesting that was it.
Yeah.
Nothing else. Nobody came out to take credit. You had thought maybe Bobby Lashley would have been involved. Bobby Lashley was on the show. So, yeah, quite the odd way to end that segment. I think the crowd didn't know what to think. But do you think that they should have had this happen like this, or should Elias been able to perform a song?
Uh, I would have liked to have heard Elias perform a song because it's so entertaining. But if let's see where this goes. I think they might be doing an angle here, so we'll see.
Could be.
We'll see where this goes.
Yeah.
There's
Good.
something to this maybe. So I'm gonna let this one slide in terms of because it's I'm not sure what to think of this yet, but it was interesting for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. After that, you follow that up with the Miz, meeting with the old Mr. Raj backstage, the B team. And he tried to boss them around as he normally does. And they said, "We don't need you anymore. We're the B team. We're going to go celebrate." And the B stands for Brian. So, yeah, I thought that was good to let the B team get over on the Miz there. Get a little revenge on him. So that was good. All right. Next, we get the best match on the show. Daniel Bryan versus the Miz. This was a very, very interesting match. In a lot of ways. The way it was worked, the crowd reaction to the match, the finish, everything was so interesting about this match. Let's talk about the crowd. I don't think the crowd really wanted to boo the Miz, but they didn't really. I mean, they didn't want to cheer him a whole hell of a lot either because he's against Bryan. So I think it kind of hurt Bryan in a way too. Although the crowd was into all the spots, of course. But yeah, the crowd heat was kind of odd here. Then let's talk about the match layout. This is totally different than your normal Bryan match, and Bryan has definitely adapted his style since he's returned. And this kind of felt like your a 2018 version of a Memphis style main event. I know your brother Dylan mentioned Lawler Dundee, and it kind of felt that way. You got the wives involved. I mean, it does feel kind of like that type of feud here. And Bryan definitely is being safer. We've seen, although that bump he took from the clothesline off the ring ropes there was kind of nasty, but he was fine. So we had that. Miz is great. He's so good. And I'm glad they did this style of match because it made him look good. He's tremendous here in this. So we got to the finish where Miz went over to Maurice, who was at ringside, with the baby stroller, probably with no baby inside of it, and she handed him something there, which he would use to knock out Bryan as he went for a tope. and he got the pinfall. Tremendous finish. Because in your Lawler Dundee type of feud in Memphis, when you got the Elias involved, Beverly Dundee would do some shit like that, where she would give Bill Dundee a foreign object to use and to beat Lawler. Of course, that led to her getting her head shaved, but I don't know if we're going to go that with Maurice, but yeah, I mean, it led to something happening down the line, but I kind of think we're going to get something down the line between these two. Maybe at Evolution, we get a Brie versus Maurice match, or, God forbid, we may get a mixed tag match. Who knows? But Miz had to win. There's no doubt about it. I mean, if they would have Bryan go over Miz here, that would have been the stupidest finish on the whole show, in my opinion. Over everything. Maybe even over Brock beating Roman again. I think Bryan going over Miz would have been the stupidest decision on the show. Because this program needs to be a long-term program, and the Miz desperately needed to win the first match. And to win it in a cheap way, which he did. So, love this match. Love the finish. Love the whole story about it. So, what were your thoughts on the whole situation?
Yeah, this was an excellent match. Definitely a great match. What I like so much about it is that they worked the match that correlated with the storyline and the promos and the build. That's actually rare these days. And they did it in a way that wasn't as ham-fisted as, say, a Gargano Ciampa in their last couple of matches, or a Triple H Shawn Michaels. Interesting comparison there. I wonder who aged those Gargano Ciampa matches. I
wonder.
God, they're terrible influences. But this was a very much old school style. They did the spot early where Bryan was trying to punch Miz in the face earlier than Miz. You want to punch me in the face? He starts punching Miz in the face. Bryan catches him by the throat, starts punching him in the face. Like, doing these Memphis-style punches. And Bryan starts working the match around punching Miz in the face for the first few minutes. And that correlated with the promos and the story and him saying he wanted to punch Miz in the face. I don't think the commentary did a particularly good job a lot of the time. Corey mentioned some of the stuff a few times, but these guys are clueless sometimes.
Tom and Byron. Well, I want to say this about Corey real quick, because I think Corey has gone a little too much towards the heel side of things on commentary, when he used to be more kind of like the old Jesse Ventura way. So that kind of irks me a little bit, especially in a promotion that heels and faces kind of don't really matter anymore in a way.
Right.
So it is kind of heavy-handed, some of the stuff he does on commentary, but he still does a great work. And yeah, this was one of those instances.
Definitely. Yes. And then they did the other spot where a big part of this feud is, and you saw the video packages, those excellent video packages they did. Daniel Bryan said Miz is soft. He doesn't work hard in the ring. He's a soft wrestler. Bryan isn't a soft wrestler. He does crazy stuff. He's violent. The spot where Miz was doing Bryan's kicks, and Bryan just leaned into the kicks because Miz is a pussy and doesn't have strong kicks. He's a soft wrestler. That's what that spot was. And Bryan leaned into it. Then slapped the shit out of Miz and beat the shit out of him. That was literally a spot directly correlating with that storyline. That's what that was. And the same thing can go for when Bryan was on his knees and Miz was punching his lights out. And Bryan sold it very well, because when you get punched in the face, it's a fight. And Bryan was able to overcome that and punch because Miz is soft. That's the story they were telling. But I also liked that when Bryan would get Miz in submissions and shit, and whatnot, and Miz is a smart wrestler. He's just smarter in the ring than Bryan is, and he's tough. Miz proved that he was tough. He kicked out of some big moves. He withstood the beating. His chest. I thought it was great when they had him look at his chest all bloodied and he got mad. Like it was sort of a in-ring character development for Miz. I thought they did an excellent job with all that stuff. I love that Miz, withstood the figure 4 reversal and all these submissions and was able to get to the ropes. He was able to withstand Bryan's onslaught. And then, but, at the end of the day, Bryan was a better wrestler. He's a heel, but he's also smarter. He resorts to heel tactics with Maurice as his last resort, wins by cheating. This was a very much a Memphis 80s old school style match. It was great. The crowd, I think you're right about them wanting to cheer for Miz and Bryan because there was actually a very, very almost even Miz-Bryan dueling chant early on.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think fans know how to react to old school wrestling matches anymore. Well,
here's the thing. I want to bring this up. Since you brought that up, I want to bring this up, and this reminds me of NXT. Have we got to the point now where there's really not such a thing as heat on these types of shows, and the fans like Ciampa? The fans are booing Ciampa because that's what you're supposed to do.
Right.
That's what you feel like that's the gimmick. You're supposed to boo him, and like his ring entrance, since you don't have any music, his ring entrance is booing. When something happens organically, then it becomes fully co-opted and it becomes part of the show.
Right.
And that's where we are a lot with heat. There's not a lot of genuine heat anymore in main wrestling.
Right. And that match was worked around that in terms of trying to get genuine heat. The fans are so conditioned now to the big spots and the smoke and mirrors stuff, which is WWE style and kind of always has been in a lot of ways, especially the smoke and mirrors bit. That I don't think
my favorite.
When real quick, when Bryan was on his knees, Miz was punching him. 30 years ago, fans would have been screaming for Bryan.
Yeah.
They were just kind of sitting there with it on their hands, like, Charles from PWO pointed out that's the first time he's ever heard fans not pop for a figure four reversal. They didn't care. Like, they just was kind of, whatever. Like, no, they pop for the big spots and the high action and stuff. But I mean, they pop for the finish. But they're not reacting to the spots that are done to get heat anymore.
My favorite is also on this show, and I forget which match it was exactly. You'll probably tell me that there was hardly no reaction for most of the match, and then once they started doing the big spots on the floor, I think maybe the Rollins-Dolph match. Once they started doing the big spots, this is awesome. This is awesome. You haven't been doing hardly anything whole show, and this has happened a good bit lately in some of these matches. And then you just want to start chanting, "This is awesome," because that's what you feel like you kind of have to do. It's definitely interesting to watch the dynamic of what crowds at big shows for WWE, Ring of Honor, anywhere that's like that to run those shows, and then go to an indie show, especially in our neck of the woods, when there's actually still. I mean, I wouldn't say there's actual heat, but still, who you're supposed to be cheering for the faces. You're supposed to boo the heels. That what what you have to do. So, it was the crowd was one of those stories of this match. It really was. Again, it also depends on where they're at too.
Sure.
When they do Bryan and Miz again, if it's in a city that's not a noted city for smart fans, then we'll see how it goes. Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely curious to see how it goes. But I'm not. I mean, the fans still love Bryan. They were still cheering for him and hitting, But it just there wasn't for a match like this. It's supposed to be it's the first time they've wrestled in years. We've had all these angles to build this up. There wasn't any heat.
Right. It was an excellent match, and it was tremendously worked and booked. But the crowd, and that's not on the wrestlers. I don't blame them. Because I'll defend this match. Some people I think might have said, you know what, I'm going to get on the wrestlers. The agents, they didn't work the match that the Brooklyn crowd wanted. Well, so what? They worked the match they worked the match to the feud's benefit, not to the Brooklyn crowd's benefit, and that's a big thing to me. They worked the match to the feud's benefit and not to the crowd's benefit, and that's fine with me. And I think that's actually great, and that was a great decision. And the crowd reacted enough. They weren't sitting on their hands the whole match, but it
No.
was just. I think it's just an interesting sort of philosophical or interesting kind of sort of psychology of a wrestling fan today look a little bit in conversation.
Oh,
But
absolutely. Well, yeah, exactly. So, and we're going to get, more of this to come. Now, how do you follow this? When you get back to the Raw side of things real quick, where they show you how it's done. Finn Balor versus Constable Corbin. These two have had so many TV matches, and this feud's, this time for this feud to be over with. So, what do? Balor comes out as the Demon in a shock. Nobody knew this was coming, but it makes sense. Every SummerSlam he's worked in Brooklyn, he's worked as the Demon. That's just that's the way it's been. And Corbin's been a thorn in his side. He's been an asshole. He's done and talked all this shit on him. Now it's time to shut him up as a Demon. So the crowd, who was kind of, whatever in the Miz Bryan match, lost their fucking minds for this. They were nuts for Balor. I mean, they treated this as a huge deal. He goes in and just beats the dog shit out of Corbin, wins in like a minute and a half. Again, another squash that needed to happen on the Raw side of things to end the feud. So Balor goes over. The Demon is special, and it was exactly what it needed to be. Thoughts?
oh, this was brilliant booking. This is the first time the Demon King Balor or whatever. It's corny, but this is the first time that the Demon King actually felt like it was a dangerous, more dangerous, more more dangerous, better version of Finn. This is the first time it's ever been like that, ever. He's always won as a Demon, but this is the first time. I think he lost to Joe one time, maybe, but I can't remember. But this is.
He lost to Bray Wyatt as a Demon, didn't he?
Did he lose to? I can't remember.
Was it in last year, SummerSlam?
Maybe
when he lost to Wyatt?
maybe I can't remember. That's I know he lost once, I think, but this is the first time, and everything about it was great. The squash, he puts impact into his moves, the surprise added to it. It made the Demon character look threatening and more dangerous and a better version of Balor, and that was excellent booking. And Corbin was tremendous, being frightened and terrified and trying to weasel his way out of the match because he wasn't he put that over tremendously because it made the Demon character actually real. Like it actually made it feel like this was actually it made it feel like this was a big deal, like this was not the Finn Balor you wanted to mess with.
Balor won last year.
Okay.
So we got that out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah, this was excellent. This was tremendously booked. I was very pleased with this. Very, very, very well done.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly what it needed to be. Strong stuff. And in looking for the SummerSlam 2017 results, I know I'm going to get off track here. Looking at this card, it's amazing to look at all the names that was on that show and not on this show.
Oh.
Listen to the list here. Jinder, Cesaro, Sheamus, Bray, Sasha, Big Cass, of course, along with the company. Big Show, Naomi, John Cena, the Usos, Tozawa, Neville, of course, Matt Hardy, and Jason Jordan, who's probably maybe never going to wrestle again because of his neck, which is a sad story.
Yeah.
But wow, all those names not on this show.
Know. It's amazing.
Crazy. And we had all these matches. But yeah, so very, very great booking there with the Demon. All right, next we get Bryan backstage. Interesting that there was a sign that said fragile near where he was sitting. And he had ice pack on him. He was pissed off he's losing. He feels like his return's been a bust. Bree built him up. So this is what kind of makes me think they're going to do the mixed tag. I think they kind of have
I don't think they'll do the mixed tag at the Evolution show, man. You can't have men.
Well, here's what happened.
You can't have men in a match.
No. You can't have men in the match, but I think they'll have the match.
Maybe, yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yeah. But they could do Brie versus Maurice there.
They could. The setup, maybe the tag.
Yep.
They could do that. Maybe Survivor Series.
Yeah. Yep.
Why not? and then do Miz and Bryan at the Rumble
Yeah. Hmm.
as like a blow off deal. All right, so we had that. Next, we get SmackDown's main event of the show, the U.S. Heavyweight Title match. Shinsuke Nakamura against Jeff Hardy, and this was interesting as well because the crowd really didn't care much for the match. In a lot of ways, they love doing Nakamura's entrance. He knows the heel, and this was one of the better Nakamura matches actually on the main roster. I thought. Jeff Hardy's swanton on the apron was complete fucking insanity, and he should never do that again. And Nakamura threw him back in the ring, hit the Kinshasa, got the pin. Randy Orton comes out, which everybody was waiting on. He goes around to the ring while Hardy's there laying, and then turns around and walks back to the back again. Total troll move by Randy Orton, classic. But yeah, this was what it was. So, what'd you think about it?
I didn't think the match was all that good. I thought it was probably the second worst match in terms of in ring. It was pretty sloppy. Both these guys are sloppy, but I thought it was a little bit more sloppy than usual. But Hardy's swanton put it over the top, and made it probably. I think it put it ahead of the mixed tag earlier in the show. But the swanton bump was insane, totally insane.
Just nuts.
God, he's a lunatic. That was just a frightening bump. And he does it. He does one of those things every year. I think like a year or two ago, he did a swanton where he missed it and landed on the stairs or something. Like, he's totally insane, just a complete lunatic. Nakamura wins. The Randy Orton stuff is hilarious. I actually think he's been excellent as his return as a heel. His promos have been good. His beatdowns.
Him behind the curtain on SmackDown was so awesome.
Yes, his beatdowns have been insanely vicious, like pulling the earlobe. God, that was brutal. He's been definitely revitalized and become more interesting. And he's been wanting to be heel for a long time, and now he is, and he's excelling at it. But the match was but for the most part it was inoffensive and got the job done in terms of Nakamura winning clean and furthering the Jeff Orton deal. So I thought that was good booking too.
Yeah, and we'll see if these guys are still married to each other here. Because Nakamura, I was kind of thinking Orton may do something Nakamura too tonight, but he didn't. Nakamura got out of there, so we'll see. We will see. All right, now we have the two main events of the show, which they actually had as the two main events of the show. But I was kind of surprised that Alexa and Ronda went on first, but it made sense considering what they were doing later. The Bellas was at ringside for this match. The crowd was interested in this match too. Alexa is definitely a very popular among the smart fans. Look at what happened in Chicago at the pay-per-view there. But again, this was a squash match that needed to be a squash match because of the way it's been built up, and you got to make Ronda Rousey, and she just tossed Alexa like crazy. High impact moves, and Alexa's double jointed, folks. If you didn't know that, they've done stuff like that before, but this is when it paid off tremendously with Ronda being what she is. That Alexa being double jointed actually could manipulate her arm in a way where it looked like Ronda was just fucking breaking her arm and twisting it and twisting it and twisting it. So that was great. They definitely lucked out there. So Ronda gets the win, which she had to get. Natalya came out with her and got a nice ovation, wearing the Anvil's jacket from SummerSlam '90. So that was a nice touch. Then the Bellas came in the ring to celebrate, and the fans booed them. So they hugged Ronda, thinking, okay, maybe they're going to do something. But with Natty in the ring, I kind of immediately felt, okay, they're not going to do a heat angle now because, the situation with her dad.
Right.
So everybody left the ring, and then Ronda went over to her husband, Travis Brown, and hugged on him. And again, this was another Raw situation that they had the exact perfect thing they should have done, and they did it. So we'll see what happens next. But Ronda is crowned the new champion. Your thoughts?
It was a super fun squash and the right thing to do again. Crowd was into it. Um Alexa tried to stall some, tried to get counted out a little bit, and Ronda gutted her in, and they did the comedy spot that felt really old school with the headlock, and Alexa putting in a sleeper, which was hilarious.
Yeah.
And got a legit laugh out of the crowd and me. That was a funny spot. Yeah, the arm drags, the judo throws, the twisting Samoan drops and shit were all brutal. And of course, Alexa's got the deal where she can twist her arm in all fucked up fashion, so that was great. Great, great squash. Alexa will be fine. She's got Trish at Evolution. They'll build that up big time.
Oh yeah. Well, Lex always gonna be fine because of
Oh yeah,
how
absolutely,
she can handle
absolutely.
herself.
Right,
You know.
right. Yeah, that was and that, I think that's probably why they announced the match before Chris. The Trish match is
Hmm.
I think was they knew she was getting squashed, so they wanted to be able to set her up so that because if you don't announce the Trish, I mean, she would have been fine and they would have announced it eventually, but if you don't announce the Trish match beforehand, some people might have been like, oh, what's going on with Alexa, and now that they did that, now oh, okay, she's got a match with Trish. She's fine. So I think that was smart by them to do that. But yeah, it was a super fun squash, super fun match, and Ronda's the champ now. So
Yep. So exactly what they need to do. And Alexa tweeted out there. You ever heard such thing as beginner's luck? So Alexa's probably gonna be really, really strong as coming off of this with her promos, and yeah, she'll be fine.
and she will beat Trish clean at Evolution, I'm sure.
I would think so.
So
I would think so, and we might get it. I wouldn't be shocked if we got a Ronda Alexa rematch at Hell in a Cell.
right.
So we'll see how that goes. Next, we get the main event: Brock Lesnar defending Universal title against Roman Reigns. Both guys come out. The crowd actually was not as bad as it could have been. Both guys got about the same type of reaction, but Roman actually got more cheers than Brock here. Um, but you could tell that this could get interesting as the match goes along. Then comes Braun Strowman, and the place went ape shit. And Braun gets in the ring and proclaims that he's not like one of those cowards that cashes in on somebody after a match. He's going to tell them beforehand, I'm cashing in after this match, and I'm going to sit here and watch you in this ring. Then you got to face me. I thought this was genius because now instead of putting the head of Braun, Brock and Roman, that we gotta win this match quick because we got this motherfucker sitting there waiting on us after this match. So I gotta win quick. So Roman goes out there, balls to the wall immediately, and starts Superman punching Brock, and you got this frantic pace as the match goes along, but Brock makes his comeback, and both guys are just doing their shit. The crowd again, they were popping for stuff, but they weren't shitting on everything. There's a lot of I would say indifference,
there was a
but
huge buzz.
it was a
Yeah,
buzz. Yeah, it wasn't what people were thinking it was going to be.
right.
But they got Braun involved, which I guess it made sense. He's standing on the floor. It was by accident at first when Roman hits him with Tope, and then Brock delivers the F5 on him, and it was so interesting to watch how Brock got so interested in the whole Braun situation that Roman used it to his advantage and hit the spear while Brock had the chair in his hand. Chair goes flying, and it's a funny visual watching it because Brock gets hit with the spear, the chair goes flying out of his hands, and then the chair mysteriously bounces off and lands on his face, which he immediately throws off as he's down on the mat. And Roman gets a 3 count, which Brock kicks out of immediately. after the 3 count. So Roman wins this match, which thank God he won, but he wins this match because Brock was too preoccupied with Braun on the floor. Just crazy. And hey, they got what they wanted. They got the win for Roman. He beat Brock clean.
I
No
like
matter
Roman's
how,
trash talk after the match too.
yeah, Roman was so pumped up, like God damn it, because he finally got the win, and that's great. Yeah, you finally got the win, but the dude that you just beat was standing there looking at the other dude on the floor, and then just turned around and you got him. So hey, whatever it takes. But it's just funny to me how that was, and they had done this thing. The crowd was going crazy, thinking that Braun's going to cash in. But here's the thing: Braun threw that briefcase all the way to the stage. Braun was laying on the floor near the ring. So after the match, Roman's doing his celebrating, and then on the screen comes the cryon, with the credits. So I started laughing my ass off. I said, "Oh, they're not even gonna do the cash in or do it at all." I was like, "That even makes it better
Yes.
because now Braun still has the contract. He hasn't cashed it in, and they can save it any time, whenever they want to do it. So that is a tremendous way of getting around what they did. So they played that crowd like a fiddle. I mean, they had them thinking that it was coming, and then Roman wins, and then it doesn't happen, and they did that so the crowd would not turn on the match. I love it. Is it dirty pool? Yeah, but hey, what you do what you got to do to get what you want sometimes in this business from the crowd, and they did it, and props to them. I mean, this was pretty genius stroke of booking. And I had heard, but going into this match, they had 4 matches laid out, 4 different matches, and they were just trying to read the crowd. Well, I don't know if this was one of them, but this was the right way of going about this. And now we get Brock Lesnar out of our fucking hair, thank God. I hope, which it's time. It's past time. Get his fucking ass out of here now. It's time for the Universal title to actually be defended again and actually be important on television. And Roman finally got the win. So he finally, beat the beast. But I love that. I love this so much. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see where they go from here. Braun tweeted out after the fact that, he's still got the contract, but he's got a new target. So we'll see, how that goes. And let's remember, folks, Roman Reigns has never beat Braun Strowman in a singles match. He beat him He beat him in the Elimination Chamber, but that's not a singles match. So
I think he did beat him at Fastlane 2017, but that was right at the beginning of the feud, I think.
Oh, well, let me check on that real quick. But as I check on that, your thoughts on this whole situation, man? This is awesome.
This was awesome. Yeah, it was really well booked. I think. I mean, I'm not even being bitter. I think Roman looks strong. I mean, Roman won the match, and he looked strong. I mean, he powered out of Brock.
He beat him in Fastlane. You're right.
Right. Yes. And he powered out of Brock's new guillotine choked finisher, and pinned him 1, 2, 3 clean with a spear. But I actually think Braun and Brock were more protected. Brock was very well protected, but I think we all kind of knew that coming in. Brock was either going to retain or he was going to be super protected in the loss, and he was here. I agree. The funniest part is when he kicked out at 3 after the typical Brock bullshit. And of course, he got to beat the shit out of Braun, but at the same time, Braun was protected. Braun was accidentally hit by Roman. And if Braun didn't get hit by Roman, Brock probably didn't get to beat his ass like that. So, it was very well booked. They played the crowd they played the crowd big time. It was great. It was very fun. The match itself was a tremendous sprint. Very entertaining. Great smoke and mirror stuff. This was a very smoke and mirrors match, actually. It was really well done. Roman got the win. He actually got a decent amount of cheers after winning because the crowd was so jazzed up about the whole situation. I think Brock's advertised for Raw tomorrow. He beat the shit out of Braun. I think Braun's beating the shit out of Brock tomorrow.
Yeah, the
And
way
I
get him
think
out, get him out of there. Yeah.
and I think we might get a Braun Brock match somewhere down the line, maybe next year. I don't think Brock's entirely done with WWE. I think he wants
Well,
the
he's not
money.
done. He's not done. But he
Um,
just
you know,
he needs to go away now.
Brock's got the belt. I think probably the main reason they took the belt off of him was they didn't want to. They were afraid that if he goes into Cormier fight with the title and he gets his ass beat, that's embarrassing. So
He needed the title needed to be off of him. It
right,
was past time.
right. Now here's the thing: if he beats Cormier, he's winning the Universal title back. By the way, he's winning that fucking title. If he,
okay. Do you think that, or do you think they wait and bring him back and put him on SmackDown for Fox?
ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. That's a good question. I don't think he'll beat Cormier.
I don't either.
But that's I wouldn't be shocked if they tried to bring him back and give him a belt, the WWE title or the Universal title.
I think he'll be on the
he won
Fox brand. I think he'll be on SmackDown in 19. I really do.
Yeah.
I think they kind of have to have him, somebody like him on there. And I'm gonna be shocked if Ronda went over there too. You know, I mean, they're gonna have to do that.
Yeah, they're gonna have to do something.
And they have cachet on Fox. Both have fought on Fox, UFC. So.
Yep. Yeah, you're absolutely right. But yeah, this was really well done. It was the best booked show since the Rumble.
It's the best main roster show since the Rumble. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt. As a total show,
I like Money in the Bank actually. I like that show a good bit, but this show is even better.
Yeah, I mean it's the best main roster shows as a total package of booking and action in the ring. It was the best one. I just really love the booking on most of this show, and that puts it over top. But yeah, I mean, and Braun and Brock definitely makes sense. They would go that route. You know, Brock doesn't need the title. And Braun going over and beating Brock, and Braun being the guy to beat Brock handily like Roman couldn't, there's another layer to the story.
Right.
So, yeah, I'm definitely interested to see where we go from here. And Roman, you know, I wouldn't be averse to see maybe Drew McIntyre get thrown in this whole situation with Roman.
Yeah.
I mean, that's something that could play out. We'll see. We'll see when it comes to who's going to challenge him from now. But all right, this was quite the show here. So now, thumbs up, thumbs down, thumbs in the middle. Where do we stand?
Thumbs up. Really well booked show. A couple of great matches. I think pretty much all the right people won. A lot of the people for the future won. The people who are going to be around and needed the wins got them. I think this was a very well booked show, and I think it was a big plus and a success. So I'm going to give it a big thumbs up.
As a total package, this show definitely gets a thumbs up from me. Was there any real amazing blowaway matches? I mean, Miz and Bryan was the best match on the show, I thought, but I mean, no. I mean, as far as in the ring, there wasn't that type of match. But as overall package, building up the stories and all that stuff, and playing up future angles and playing for the future. This show did that, pretty well in most of the matches, and the intrigue's been built for where we go from here. And they're setting up stuff. You kind of see where they're going to go with Hell in a Cell, Evolution, the Super Showdown coming up, which could be, a show that may not be in full canon, but still, I mean, they got stuff coming up. Survivor Series, of course, November. So
October's a loaded month, folks. We've got October 6th, the Super Showdown.
Mm-hmm.
We got SmackDown 1000, which is finally being advertised. That's live in DC.
Yeah.
That is going to be a huge show. They'll bring back old stars. I wouldn't be shocked if they did a Rock, at least like a Rock like a taped interview from the Rock. Or something.
I mean, the way the reports are, that Rock may do something next year. So
yep.
This could be the beginning.
A big show. That's what's the date on that show? That's the 16th, maybe, I think, October 16th. And then, of course, the Evolution pay-per-view. So on the 28th of October. That's a big. They've got the fall. I'm really glad because for years the fall was a doldrum because football season. Now they're putting in effort, and I appreciate that because a lot of times you can turn off WWE after SummerSlam and not watch until after the holidays.
It's kind of the opposite that the summer's been kind of a dull streak, and now the fall looks like it's gonna be a hot one.
Yep.
So different direction, but yeah, this was a definite thumbs up show. So everyone check it out. It's a strong show. All right, that's it for us tonight. Be back in a month, on September 16th for Hell in a Cell. So we will see you there. Devin, thanks as always. You
Absolutely.
have the not most knowledgeable opinions on this since you watch everything that's WWE. So thanks as always for being with me. And this is Kris saying so long from the Peach State of Georgia.